Jess, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's vlog. Today's vlog is a very exciting one for me personally because in this vlog I am going to be reading two brand new releases, both of which were on my anticipated releases for 2025. I do have high hopes for both of the books that are going to be featured in this vlog. If you didn't know, because I never actually posted a goals video for this year. Normally I do, but instead I just didn't post a single video for the month of January. As part of my goals for the year, I'm actually on a 6-month book buying ban. It's a very light ban. There are still some books that will be coming into my house because I am in the middle of series, I'm in book clubs, things like that. Here's the thing, even though I'm putting myself on a 6-month book buying ban, I've already been on the ban at this point. Like many other readers, for Christmas, I got a bunch of gift cards to bookstores. I used those book cards and I allowed myself to pre-order 5 books that were coming out in the first 6 months of the year, which is how long my book buying ban is for. I had a list of like over 30 books that I had on my most anticipated going into 2025, and I picked 5 of those books and I used my gift cards to pre-order them, and in this vlog I'm going to be reading 2 of those books. The first is The Legend of Maneka. It's an adult fantasy romance. The Legend of Maneka is a Hindu retelling that centers Maneka, who is a celestial dancer, which is really what attracted me to this story. She is a celestial dancer who is working for Lord Indra, who is the Lord of Heaven, and she is sent out into the world to seduce people that are threats to Lord Indra, and she does that by dancing and casting illusions. That is the first book that I will be reading in this vlog, and then the second book that I will be reading is Blood on Her Tongue. This is a little bit different. This is an adult horror novel. It follows 2 sisters, one of whom is sick, and she starts having some weird cravings. It is also like historical, so they don't necessarily know what's wrong with her. The main sister is trying to basically figure out what's wrong with her sister before she's like sent off to a sanatorium, which historically have not really been great places. Those are the 2 books that I'll be reading for this new releases vlog. It's gonna be a good time, a little bit of fantasy romance, a little bit of horror. What more could you ask for? I will talk to you soon to give you an update on The Legend of Maneka. Hello, update time. I am about 100 pages into The Legend of Maneka. So far, I don't have very much to say. We're just kind of getting settled into the storyline of this book. Maneka is an Apsara, which is some type of celestial being. I don't necessarily know enough to know where she ranks in like the celestial hierarchy. Basically, Maneka is bound or like works for, is under the service of Indra, who is the Lord of Heaven, and he is the god of rain and water and fertility. I don't necessarily know that she has a choice in terms of like being bound in service to him. I think it is just like the nature of her being an Apsara. And basically Lord Indra has this like celestial realm within heaven heaven, and he sustains this realm, and it's where all of the celestial beings that are under him live. So he sustains that with his magic, and he gets his magic by humans and mortals being devoted to him and praying and sacrificing to him. And so Menake's own magic is drawn from Indra. Therefore, like, when humans worship him and revere him and pray to him, that gives him magic, and then like she is able to channel and use that magic for herself. Basically, she seduces people for him, but it's like not exactly what it sounds like. Say there is like a really powerful human and they are spreading sedition against Indra, then Indra will send an Apsara to seduce them. Sometimes it is exactly what it sounds like, but for Menaka, she prefers to not get romantically involved with her marks, which I do like because this is like magic at play, and so the marks kind of like lose some of their own agency and they're not in like their right coherent minds. They basically get like charmed or like ensorcelled, and so I do like that Menaka doesn't get like actually involved with them, because I mean, looking at it from a purely mortal point of view, it definitely would get unethical to be romantically involved in them. What Menaka does is she uses illusions and dancing in order to show the marks what they want, and basically she provides illusions of like their deepest dreams and desires and showed those coming to pass through her. So she makes herself kind of like this conduit where she convinces her marks that through her all of their wildest dreams, like their deep-seated dreams of their hearts, can come true, and basically she ruins their lives. And then subsequently, after she ruins their lives, they no longer go around sacking Indra's temples anymore. They, I guess, go back to praying to him, or at least not actively working against him. The thing is, Menaka hates doing these missions. Every time she has to leave the celestial realm, it feels wrong to her. Every time she kind of like ends up losing a little bit of faith in herself and Lord Indra as well. And so when the novel starts, she's just at the end of a successful mission, and she plans to ask Lord Indra to free her from future contracts so that she can basically stay forever in the celestial realm, and she can just pretty much worship him continuously from the celestial realm. And there has been one other Apsara who has been granted this boon because she was like the most powerful Apsara or something like that. Menaka is like lower in the ranks. At the end of every successful mission that they're sent on, they get like heavenly jewelry from Lord Indra, and it makes them more and more powerful. Menaka is 20-something years old, and so she is like still learning. She is still like growing in her magic, so she's pretty low on the rank. So it's kind of bold that she would ask Lord Indra to be done with this. What I also find interesting too, like I kind of hated it, Menaka was born an Apsara. It's not like she chose this job or anything. This job is basically chosen for her because of how she was born. And one thing that I find really weird is that Apsaras are immortal, but she began her training at the age of like 7, and then I think she like was sent out on her first mission when she was like 15 or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's like, if you're an immortal being, why are you starting your training so early? Shouldn't you get, I don't know, like 50 years to just be immortal in heaven, enjoying all of the benefits of being an immortal in heaven? Why are we training 7-year-olds to ruin people's lives? Honestly, I found that whole part of it kind of weird. So Menaka finishes this task and she asks Indra for this boon, and he basically gets super pissed. At the same time, the celestial realm that Indra sustains is losing some of its luster, some of its magic. It's because there is a human sage. Some humans do have the ability to access magic, and if they can access enough magic, if they are powerful enough, they become sages. And there is currently a sage that is like actively working against Indra. As a result, Indra has lost some of his magic, and therefore like the celestial realm is not as cool as it used to be. Indra has sent 2 Apsaras to deal with this sage, but neither of them has returned. They're just missing. They are presumed dead, which is in and of itself a feat because they are like very powerful immortal beings. They are very difficult to kill. Maneka knows that like if she keeps being sent out on these missions, it's going to like destroy her internally. So basically she says, I know I just kind of pissed you off by asking to be freed, but if I go seduce this mega powerful sage that's currently destroying heaven, then will you free me? And Indra's like, yeah, sure. But like I said, Maneka's still pretty low in the ranks of Apsaras, so this mission is really kind of like beyond her scope of magic. It's also kind of made worse by the fact that Indra doesn't have as much magic. When she gets there, not only would she normally just be overpowered because this human is more powerful than her normally, but like also she has less magic to draw on anyways. Nevertheless though, she agrees to go on this mission, and once she gets back to like the mortal realm, she wants to do some reconnaissance, so she hides all of her magical artifacts, basically all of the jewelry that lets her draw power from heaven, and she goes and finds the sage and convinces him that she should be a part of his hermitage and that he needs to teach her magic. And he does some human magic and scans her, and he's like, you have a lot of magic. The problem is he doesn't realize that she has celestial magic. Where I'm at right now, she's kind of in this catch-22 because like she has a ton of magic, but if she uses her illusion magic, it will reveal to the sage who she is, that she is an Apsara from Indra. She doesn't want him to disappear her the same way as the others, but also at the same time, she can't do human magic, so she's basically just being a fraud, trying to find out as much information as she can about this sage. He's very private, and the mission is not going well. She has, however, learned that the sage wants to summon Shiva into the mortal realm. I don't necessarily know how much of a good idea that is because Shiva is the god of destruction. So I don't know what kind of chaos that would cause. I do get the feeling that Lord Indra is not necessarily like a good dude either. I mean, honestly, most of the time gods are assholes and dicks. The fact that Maneka hates her job so much and it's literally destroying her, and she's still being forced to go out on all of these missions, like already like that says something about like the god that she's working for, that he doesn't really give a crap about her. That's where I'm at now. Maneka has learned that the sage does want to summon Shiva, and also I should mention that like his hermitage, where like he trains other people, like other disciples, there's like a ton of them. I get the feeling that there's like probably like 50 people living in this commune, and Maneka is currently at like the bottom rung of this commune where they're all trying to become powerful sages so that then they can work together to summon Shiva. I do think that things are about to kind of kick off because the sage and Maneka just had a really fun interaction at one of Shiva's temples where they're living like this very aesthetic lifestyle where they like meditate a lot, they eat basic food, they give up all of their possessions, and like they basically live like as lowly as possible, trying to meditate and get their self-control up to a level that like it will be recognized by Shiva, because Shiva has broken the karmic cycle and now lives outside of it because Shiva has attained so much self-control. They think that like if enough mortals can attain a certain level of self-control through meditation and through giving things up, getting better control of their their body and their reactions and their mind, then they think that they'll be able to summon Shiva. But Maneka points out that the whole teaching of this sage has only focused on Shiva, and that Shiva also is married. It's his wife that kind of like grounds him, and the two of them also represent like one being. And so if they only focus on Shiva and they ignore the duality of Shiva and his wife, I think Shakti is Shiva's wife, but like also Shiva's wife has like a ton of incarnations and a whole bunch of different names, but I think that that is the particular incarnation that Maneka was talking about. She's saying like, you guys are giving all of this up to be like Shiva, but you're ignoring half of who Shiva is. It is the marriage between Shiva and Shakti that allowed Shiva to break the karmic cycle, and that even though they are two separate beings, they are also at the same time one being. So they just had this super interesting, I don't know, conflict between the two of them. It was kind of like a philosophical argument. I do think Maneka kind of shook the sage a little bit, and so I think that her pointing all of this out to him is going to be enough that it shakes up what's going on, and then like the plot can progress forward. This is supposed to be a bit of a romance story, and Maneka has been sent on a mission to destroy this sage's life. He's already very suspicious of her anyways. That's how I'm feeling 1/3 of the way in. I will give an update when I have something interesting to say. Who knows when that will be. I hope the speaker on my phone is picking this up. I'm on the couch, I'm reading, so I apologize for the angle and the lighting, but I'm losing my mind. I'm on page 196, and this man, this sage, just said, I would let you teach me, rule me, ruin me. I would let you vanquish me if that is what you wanted, Maneka, if you asked. I'm done. I am absolutely cooked. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Things are looking great. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go finish this book now, and I'll talk to you later. Hello. I finished this book. It is excellent. I really like this. This is a really beautiful story. I definitely think that amongst the other 2025 new releases, this is absolutely worth your time. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I don't necessarily have any ideas of what like could have made this a 5-star instead of a 4-star. I don't know, it just has that 4-star vibe, I guess, but it's really good. This is a story that at its heart is very introspective. This is a story about personal growth and development, and a story about learning about yourself, learning how to love the parts of yourself that you are maybe not the biggest fan of. This is a story about learning to trust yourself, and all of that is just so beautiful. Maneka goes through so much transformation and so much growth within this novel. This is also a story about love and who we love and accepting other people. There's a lot this book has to say about why do we love people that hurt us, and also if somebody does hurt us, are they still capable of loving us, and at what point is the pain that they've caused us so much that we should no longer love them, we should move on with our lives. There's just a lot of introspection, and Maneka spends a lot of time thinking and analyzing what is happening around her. This book has a lot to say about empathy. This book has like quite a bit of conflict in it, but at the same time, the overall tone of the book is quite positive and optimistic. I really liked, especially with everything that's going on in real life. Like, I can use some optimism in my book, so I really appreciated that. This book also has a lot to say about loving people who are very flawed. All of the characters have their flaws, and this book very much recognizes that just because someone is flawed does not mean that they're not worthy of love, they're not deserving of love. But also at the same time, there is a question of how many times will you let someone hurt you and still keep loving them. What I really like too is that the book doesn't doesn't necessarily answer those questions. It's very much Mineka in her own head asking these questions, and it's not necessarily about the answer. It's about what conclusions are we drawing for ourselves, because there is no one answer to that question. It's something that everybody has to make that decision for themselves. So yes, this is a romance. Yes, it is a fantasy, but beyond that, it is just Mineka learning about herself and learning how to love herself and accept herself and learning how the world works and her coming into her own power, her own person, and everything that goes along with it. It is so beautiful. I will say though that like enjoying this book, I do think is contingent on you connecting with the character of Mineka. Even though she is like this immortal being, all of the questions that she's asking are very human questions. They are questions that I think every person, to be honest, is going to ask at some point in their life. I think it's very easy to connect with her, but I do think that you probably will not enjoy this story if you do not care about her because of how introspective it is. I really love this. I'm giving it 4 stars. I cannot wait for book 2 in this series to come out. It is just going to be a duology, so I only have one more book before this is completed. I'm just so happy I read it. This is absolutely a new release that's worth your time. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna finish up this clip here. See you in a month, I guess.